Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. When y'all come into the meeting, you will be on, you will be muted. So, welcome. Hi, Bonnie.
Hello, everyone.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to log in. And as you come into the meeting, you will be muted. During the course of the meeting, we'll keep everybody muted, and then you can use the chat feature if you have a question, or you can unmute yourself or raise your hand
Okay.
if you need to.
Oh, I've got a great crowd here.
Yeah, we've got lots of people coming on today. Glad to see everybody. All right, Bonnie, I've made you the co-host.
I should have brushed my hair.
Okay.
Say hi.
So you should have all the
Hi.
welcome.
Say your name.
We're just letting people get signed in. As you log in,
How do you do that?
My goodness, we have a big crowd.
yeah, as you log in, you will be muted. If you'd like to talk, you can unmute yourself, or we encourage you to use the chat, which is on the bottom of your screen. You'll see some little icons, and the chat box will come up on your screen to the side. And that's a good way to type in a message if you have a question during the presentation. You can turn your video off if you don't want to be seen, or you can turn it on if you want to see all the friendly faces.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh, it's great to see so many friends and faces. Wow, look at this.
Yeah, it's great. Right now we've got 19 participants. We will wait just a few more minutes. It's just now 1 o'clock.
Is anyone on their first Zoom call that might need additional info here as we get started? Okay, we have a couple hands.
Great.
Okay. So please don't hesitate. You'll need to manually unmute yourself, but don't hesitate to pause and interrupt if you're not seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, or not seeing what I'm telling you I'm doing.
So if you need to unmute yourself, if you scroll down to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little microphone and it says mute. You can unmute yourself or mute yourself. Or if you go to your actual little picture box, little blue words should pop up, and that can also give you the opportunity to mute yourself or unmute.
I put it on mute so they don't hear us talking.
We might have some people that are just calling in, but most people.
If people are only on the phone, that's going to be a problem because you're
Yeah.
not able to see anything.
Yeah. I think everybody.
Want to sequence?
And I know that we've had some, I want to introduce myself first. My name is Jamie. I'm the program manager at the JCC. I welcome you all here today. We're excited to get started with some of our virtual meetings and our first Mah Jongg class. We appreciate Bonnie Leach is instructing today on the new Mah Jongg card. I know most everybody
Those
has
right.
received their new card. I just want to tell you a few things that the JCC is doing during this time. We have been adding virtual content to our website. So if you go to raleighcaryjcc.org, on that front homepage, you can click on different categories and you'll find there are different things being added every day. If you're interested in taking a virtual tour of a museum or learn about different artists, we have some fitness classes available. So we are getting, the JCC of North America is sharing new information with us every day, and we're trying to upload it on our website to make it accessible to you. As of right now, all of our classes are online. They are free, not only to our members, but to our general community as well. So we're excited to be able to offer that to you. Also, if you or you know somebody who needs some assistance during this time, please feel free to let us know. You can call the JCC. You can also call Jewish Family Services, and they have their staff, counselors and social workers available
Nice.
to help. We know that this time can be very difficult for a lot of people, and we want to try to provide community support in any way that we
That's good in
can.
Laredo, if you go out,
So,
that's quarantine. If you go out, you have
Today, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute everybody,
Just Laredo or Del Rio?
and I'm going to unmute Bonnie, and she's going to be leading our class today. If you have questions, please feel free to, you have the ability, you can unmute yourself, or you can, or Bonnie can unmute you. You can raise your hand in the screen if you have a question. You can also use the chat function, which is at the bottom of your screen. And if you just click on chat, it will pull up to the right of your screen. It will say message. You can write a message to Bonnie. It might just be easiest to unmute yourself so that she can hear you.
I was going to say that because I'm going to be doing a lot of sharing, so I might not have visibility to my chat window here all the time, but just pause and wave your hand in front of your face if you've got video.
Great. And the last thing I wanted to share before I turn it over to Bonnie, I know that there have been some concerns about us using Zoom calls because of some of the negative hacking that has happened. But we have been learning strategies to make our Zoom calls safe and trying to provide the links only to the people that are going to be participating. And we can, if someone happens to get on this call that's not supposed to be, we can kick them out. So just wanted to reassure you that we are taking our necessary precautions that we need to keep it safe. We hope you enjoy your class today.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Absolutely.
All right, so just a quick show of hands for those who are on video. How many people out there? No, I see you, Ronnie. Let me ask the question. The question is, how many people here this is going to be their first new card transition, meaning they learned to play with 2019? Okay, so we have a few. Okay. How many people do not yet have their 2020 card in front of them? Okay, looks like almost everybody does. Good, good, good. Okay. So without any further delay, I'm going to jump in. So the overview of what I want to do today is I put together a really quick PowerPoint for some talking points to go through. It's not complete. There are some things I do want to put in it. I don't know, Jamie, I could send it to you after. I'd like to finish it a little bit more to distribute.
That's great.
We've only had a few days to play with this card, so it's not complete. I'll just put it at that. And then after we've gone through the card, I'd love to have some discussion on it, things that you've seen or questions you have. And then I want to get into using some tiles and modeling and discussing together how we might start making decisions during the Charleston, at least with this new card. Sound good? Any questions before we get started? I see one. Yeah, unmute yourself. Janet?
Oh, how do I do? Oh, you did that?
I did that.
Did you do that?
What's your question?
Okay, I think it's a Zoom question. You said that there was something at the bottom of my screen, but I just see me, Mindy, Jody, and Rosalind. I don't see anybody else. Am I supposed to see something?
So it depends how you have yours set up. That might be a speaker view. It might be where you've got your screen set. You might be in full screen. What you want to be is in what's called gallery view. It looks kind of like a Rubik's Cube or tic-tac-toe board, depending on how you say it.
But all it is your face, and then me, Mindy, Jody, and Rosalind. And then there's a minus sign, and then there's a sign on my upper left-hand corner of a screen with a person in it.
Okay.
So-
I'm about to do screen sharing, so I think that's all going to become a moot point, but let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and for anybody that wants to ask a question, if you're not sure how to unmute, if you kind of hover over your own image, you'll see a little button pop up that says unmute.
What does hover mean?
Just put your mouse, your pointer over your own face.
My finger? I don't have a pointer.
Put your
I have a
mouse over your own face.
I don't have a mouse.
Uh,
I'm on a pad.
an iPad.
I think just raise your hand
Yes.
if you have a question.
Okay.
If you
Okay,
need to be
I'm gonna
unmuted.
go back to mute all and then we'll get started. If somebody has a question, unmute yourself and I'll stop. I can't see all the participants at the same time. So if somebody else sees someone wildly waving their hands and they're still on mute, please pause and interrupt to stop me.
Right?
All right, so here we go. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And can everybody see what I'm sharing? Okay. So go ahead. So what do we've got going on? We've got our new card in our hands. Yay. Finally, we're here. So first question is, why do we have a new card every year? Well, it would be a little dull if it never changed. It also kind of keeps things fresh for the people who've been playing for a long time. Obviously, this is as I understand, a huge moneymaker for the National Mah Jongg League. And many of they also donate a large portion of these sales back to charities through group sales as people collect cards for lots of people. And also, this is the way that they communicate any rule changes. They do send out a little bulletin in December of each year to let you know if anything has been modified, and anything that is changed will be printed on the back of the new card. So what's still the same in 2020? So we have the same categories, which is great. And for those seeing a new card for the first time, these categories carry over from year to year. And there's nothing new this year. We've got evens, we've got odds, we've got 3, 6, 9, consecutive run. So from a category perspective, we're still looking at the same categories. There are 6 hands on the card which have carried over identically from last year. So, yay, we don't have 6 hands that you already might know. I think I did a count before. It's about 64 total hands. So, not bad. 10% you're already good on, and you'll recognize those. So while there aren't any new categories, we actually did lose a category from last year, which they called it the, what do they call it? Addition? I think they call them addition hands. That section plays around on the card. It's always some kind of mathy play. Sometimes it's multiplication or addition, but they removed it as a category. And if you look over your 2020 card, you'll see there are actually a couple of math hands included in the evens category and the odds category. So that's kind of neat to look for them over there. And just a reminder, we are here in the year 2020. We are gonna be using zeros a lot. Those are white dragons. And just as a reminder, when it's a 0, it does not have a suit. It does not have to go with dots. You can continue to use any number with those, any suit when you're doing a 2020. Okay. So what's changed? What changes as we go from year to year? So even though the categories are fixed, what changes significantly is how, what I'm going to call the blocks of the tiles are grouped together within the hands themselves. And I use the word shape here. It's the shape of the pattern. So example, I hope this is familiar to folks for last year's consecutive run, that very first hand that was all in one suit. We saw a pair, a pung, a kong, a pung, a pair. So a pyramid, right? We had 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 3 of a kind, 2 of a kind. And we actually saw that shape several places throughout our card last year. This year, we have a new shape in our consecutive run. So it doesn't do this pyramid anymore. It goes a little bit of a stair step up. We have pair, pair, pung, pung, kong. And we're going to see that shape in several places around the card. There are a lot of different shapes on this card this year. Actually, this is a misstatement. I actually went through and counted because there are not a greater variety of shapes. There's actually the same. I think there actually might be one less, but what appears different, and the reason it initially appeared to me as more, is because they're more distributed throughout the card. So maybe I was not used to seeing them in all these different places, but I think it's a pretty, I'll just say, a pretty awesome new card as far as it looks quite different than it did last year. And I think it's going to be pretty fun to play around on different sections of the card this year. So what else is new? So we've got flower quints. I don't know if others have seen. I've been playing, not consistently, but on and off for 20 years, and I've never seen flower quints. I saw sextets a couple years ago, or in the past, where they were 2 pungs of flowers, but I don't know that I've seen 5. So we've got 3 different hands on the card that require a quint of flowers. Only one of those is in the quint section. So remember that because we have 8 flowers, we do not necessarily need to have jokers. What it does mean is if we have a lot of hands on the card with 5 flowers, these are going to be in high demand this year. There's still an awful lot of hands on the card with a kong of flowers. So keep this thing in mind when selecting a hand. Okay? Something else new this year is nearly half of the hands on the card include like numbers. So to the best that you can, really do avoid passing like numbers in the Charleston. That's always been a good rule of thumb that I've stuck by, but this year it's really a little more dangerous, if you want to use that word, that you might be helping somebody out much more than you might have in the past. And then another thing to note, and I don't think I've seen this before either, that there are some exposed hands which use single tiles. So I know I've seen them in the past in different concealed hands, but there are a couple of hands on the card that use single tiles throughout. So just be careful when you're getting to the end of a game. Just because you see 3 tiles out there does not mean it is safe to throw the 4th one. I don't want to make everybody paranoid because obviously everything's at risk, but do keep that in mind, that when you see some exposures and you might be wondering what hand they're playing, there are some where they only need a single. So kind of dovetailing into that, we are going to be in high demand with our twos this year. So if you have the flexibility and you're looking to go in the consecutive run category, I'm going to say let's start at 3 and higher. If your tiles tell you something otherwise, great, but there's going to be a lot of competition for twos. So I would generally, if possible, or when given a fork or a decision point, that's the words I was looking for. When you get to a decision point and you would have to choose perhaps between 2 different numbers, don't pick the 2. If you're playing a like number hand, you know, maybe pick the other number you were, when it was an even count, right? And likewise, when you have a consecutive run, if you can start with 3 or higher, just avoid the competition for those 2s if it's possible. Obviously, if you're playing one of these hands, you're going to need them. But just some things to keep in mind that these are going to be in really high demand. And then similarly, because it's 2020, you know, last year we had 2019, so we had 4 separate tiles. And in my opinion, I think those were actually some of the easier hands to make Mah Jongg on the card. Because when you have 4 different tiles and you only need 1 of each, it wasn't, in my opinion, too terribly challenging to get there. Now we've got 2020, so you're going to need a pair of your 2 2s and 2 white dragons. So those are going to become more important as well. And if you'll notice one big change, at the very bottom of the card, the highest point hand, I was wondering as we were getting close to the new year if they were going to do this, but they did indeed put 2020 in there twice, which means it requires all 4 white dragons. So good luck. I'll be happy to buy anybody a drink that makes this hand. This is phenomenal. You know, one goes down and you're done. So that is quite a feat for anybody to do it. Another really interesting statistic I found as I was counting through the hands is it kind of triggered my thought with seeing these new singles tiles out there, is that almost 3/4 of the hands include a pair or a single or a news or a 2020, which cannot include jokers at all. That's a lot. So perhaps more than ever, this year it's going to be pretty important to make sure you've got that part of your hand secured or largely secured before you commit to something. So that's always my advice for playing. You always want to be aware of your pairs, but this is quite a lot. There's pairs all over, plus the singles, plus they're having a lot of fun with the years.
Bonnie,
Yes.
it's Audrey Katz. How are you?
Hi, Audrey.
I have a question about on the card, on the left-hand side under 2020, the 3rd hand down.
Yes.
It's about the 2s. It looks like a pair of 2s, 3 2s, and then 2020.
Correct.
But there are only 4 2 tiles total, correct? So I would need, you can't use a joker in the pair, and you won't be able to use the joker in the 2020. So do all those 2s in the middle, oh no, they could be a different suit. I'm sorry, I just
In fact, they have to be a different suit.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
3 suits. Yep. So you have to do that. Now that I look at that hand a little more closely, I imagine that's going to be one of those that causes a lot of headaches as you switch around collecting 2s and which is going to be your pair and which is going to be your pong. It's kind of like the hand we had on the card last year with the like numbers and the dragons, the pairs and the pongs and the con. Like, which one do I move and commit to?
Okay.
I foresee that one being interesting as well, Audrey.
Thank you.
All right. So what do we need to do? Did I miss a? No. Yeah. All right. So how to make a transition smooth? Make sure you fully understand the notes to the side in parentheses on each hand. Some of them have very specific, I'm saying, prohibitions, and some have some very significant permissions as to the different variations the hand can be played. So for example, the one you were just talking about, Audrey, it says any 3 suits. And those 3 colors means it has to be 3 suits. The hand right above it with the pair of flowers, a Kong of Dragons, a 2020, and a Kong of Dragons, it says right there, the Kongs red and green only. So you have to Kong your red and green. But it says the 2s can be any 1 suit. So even though it shows in 3 colors, there's only limited options they can do on this card. You absolutely can have your 2s be cracks or bands or dots, for example. Okay. I know this question is going to come up a lot if we want to look at the top quint hand, where we have a quint of flowers, a Kong of Dragons, and a quint of numbers. We see a different color between the dragons and the numbers, but it clearly says in the parentheses, any number in any suit with any dragon. So they can match or they cannot match. One of the best ways to get familiar with a card is just practice modeling hands. If some of these look kind of wonky to you, pull out the tiles and set them up and see what makes sense, or see, once you put it out in front, you might think, oh, I get it. Oh, I see where this is. A couple, I'll add some of these notes in when I redo the slides. Oops, yeah. I guess they're in my head. These didn't quite make it onto the slides in time. So a couple things to watch out. This year, when you're looking at the wins category, there's 2 different hands that have a pung of wins. And it's actually only easts and wests that can have pungs. So if somebody puts up a pung of norths, that's no good. And likewise with the souths. If you see a pung of easts or wests, there's exactly 2 hands they can be playing. That's it. Something else interesting, if somebody puts up a pung of dragons, there is no hand on the card with a pung of dragons except a concealed hand in the consecutive run. So that could be a fatal error along the way. If you see, so notice those 2 things just to keep in mind. And I also, while we're talking about that, the consecutive run category, the bottom 2 hands are concealed. I believe last year we had a fairly consistent pattern of only 1 and exactly 1 of every category was concealed, not the quints. But this year we've got all of the like number hands are exposed, all the hands in the like number category exposed. And in the consecutive run, we've got 2 at the bottom, which are concealed. So definitely that is definitely a potential trap as we go through along the way. Something else I saw as a trap, if you look at your card, I'll put this up here because I'm not, oops. There. Right. I'll do this. All right. I'm looking at the very middle hand on the consecutive run, the 30-point hand, where it's pair, 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 Kong, Kong. If this looks kind of familiar, it's because there was something almost identical to it last year on last year's card. The pattern last year was pair, 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 Kong, Kong, but instead of 5 consecutive numbers, you had 3 consecutive pairs and then a Kong of matching numbers in 2 different suits. So make note of something along the lines that some hands have only been tweaked and some are quite radically different. I'm going to go ahead and unmute folks for the moment and ask if anybody's got questions at this point.
What did that happen?
Whoa, maybe I'll mute everybody and you can unmute yourself.
Hey, Bonnie, can I ask you a question?
No.
Let me get.
Go ahead.
No.
Who are-
Don't do that.
I'm going to mute all again. And I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Who did you unmute?
You.
Okay. I'm watching you on my phone because I couldn't get it on the computer because it's saying the meeting has been locked by host. Have you done anything that doesn't allow anybody else to join?
That might be one of the security features that Jamie was talking about.
Okay, Jamie just said, yes, it has been locked.
Okay.
Because it's hard to watch on the phone because everything's so little. Are we going to be able to print off your slides?
Yes.
Okay.
I would kindly request the weekend to add more content in that I'm only talking through verbally now.
Yeah, you can take as long as you want. We appreciate all that you do.
I will distribute it for sure. I'm happy
Okay.
to share the knowledge. Other questions out there? I don't know who's that. I see iPad. Go ahead.
Hi, Bonnie. I have a question. When you were talking about the quints on the first one, the dragons and the numbers, they cannot be of the same suit, correct?
They can be of the same suit.
Well, they can.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're not trying to trick you here. They're saying any number, any suit, any dragon. They
Okay.
can match, absolutely, your dragon and your number.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you again for doing this for all of us. Thank you.
I'll just add a comment. My personal takeaway from the quint section is I'm very sad to see one of the hands go from last year because there was one quint hand that only required one joker. And so I really like that. And now we're back this year. All 4 of the quint hands require 2 jokers. So there's 2 quints in every hand. My personal, I really, really liked that hand. Any other questions?
Bonnie?
Yes, Jamie?
It's Janie. Yeah, hi. I have a question. Going back to the second hand down in the 2020, you spoke about
Yep.
when they say reds and greens only, does that mean BAMs? Are they referring to the color or that just means this? I'm a little confused.
Sorry, they're referring to red dragons and green dragons.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I seem to remember in years past when they specified the dragon, I remember seeing a G and an R on the card. I guess they're just putting the D's back in, but they have to be the red dragons and they have to be the green dragons. What they're saying by saying that the 2s can be any suit is that if you have the reds and the greens, the 2s do not have to be the dots. You can have 2 cracks with reds and greens. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? All right. Is that maybe yes, no? Audrey?
Jam. Am I there?
You're there. We can hear you.
Bonnie, on one of your slides, I think it was the last one, you put down the website mahjongtime.com.
Ah, yes.
But Mahjong was spelled incorrectly. Is that the correct way that they want us to put it in for the website?
That's the name of the website. I will also include a link when I send it out, or actually, I can probably get this through Jamie to you before. They're having a promotion where you get all kinds of, I don't know, coins and stuff. I play for free. I I don't care about coins, but
Okay.
they have something where you can play as a VIP for a few months, and I'll get that to you.
But they didn't spell Mah Jongg correctly, but that is the way that they spelled it on their website?
Yes, this is
Okay.
how that particular site is spelled. You'll see all kinds of variations as different companies get blocked out with everybody spelling it correctly.
Okay.
There are a number of websites out there where you can play online. I know there's one that the National Mah Jongg League puts out. I know there's a Mah Jongg. There's I don't know all of them. This one I like because it is the most realistic in terms of the game. It feels like you're playing a game and not playing by other people controlling robots kind of thing. It's also, from the different ones I've played, it seems to be the smartest. I know one of the, which was it? Mah Jongg, I think, forces you on every single hand to say whether or not you want the discarded tile, even if it's not possible to pick it up, even if you don't even have a matching tile in your hand, which gets a little tiresome. But I do like this one. It's, from what I found, a pretty friendly community. You have a lot of options for speed of play. So that's one thing to note. They'll put down how much time people have to make a decision, and then it makes the decision for you. If you haven't decided a different tile to toss out, it just tosses the one you just picked. So it does a really good job of keeping the game going.
Thank you.
All right, so what I want to do now is share my camera. You guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see. Okay, good. I can go back and forth, good. So what I want to do now is I've got a bunch of tiles next to me. And I want to set up as if we had just done a Charleston, and let's look together at 2, 4, 6. I can't talk and do this. 8, 10, 12, 13. All right. This funny looking thing here is a joker. Okay. Can everybody see the first tile right now is a 4 dot and the last one is a 3 dot? Are they all in focus? Yes. Okay. I'm actually going to unmute everybody here for this bit. How do I do that? There we go. Nope. There. Okay. So
Bonnie,
I'd like
we
to
can't see-
just,
to the left? You can't see the whole rack.
No.
You should.
I can see the whole rack.
got it now? All right, I just had to pull up a screen to unmute everybody.
Go shift.
I'm just showing strategy.
Oh, they have a set. It's like rugby.
Okay.
Bonnie, the fourth, oh, now it's the fifth tile. That's
Move
a
it
I'm actually
a
on
little
gas.
Move it a
Wait,
little
let's
bit.
play tonight.
There you
I don't know how to play.
Didn't just
It doesn't matter.
overview.
I've won games I don't know how to play.
Yeah,
This
I'll
one's
beat you
hard.
tonight.
Can I watch?
Huh? Huh?
Can I watch this?
I'm gonna beat you tonight.
You don't even know how to play.
I'll beat you. Don't worry. You don't have to play. Yeah, I didn't have. You lost the other day.
trying to.
How bad the dog even told you to lose.
He moved my hand. I messed it up.
It's the dog's
It was.
I'm trying to mute everybody
Oh,
and
that's
it's
the
not
oldest
seem to
trick
be
ever.
letting me.
My dog ate my homework.
Let me stop sharing for a moment. And yes, continue. All right. So, sorry about that. Yeah, there is a lot of background noise in people's homes. So if I'm happy to keep it open, if you have a quiet space, please do participate. However, if it is not, then please keep yourself on mute unless you would like to ask a question. All right, So I'm going to put my tiles in order according to value and suit. I just grabbed all these at random out of a stack. All right, whoops. Yeah, this is an autofocus thing, so I want to optimize the focus. That doesn't look so good. There we go. Good enough? Holler if it's really too fuzzy.
Looks good.
Okay.
Oh, no,
So,
Bonnie,
yes.
There's a 6 crack?
Yes.
The view of people is blocking the 6 crack on my screen, but if you move a little
You can drag that view of people around.
if you move the tiles to the left on my screen, it will show up. But
You can move that block of people around.
How do you full screen? That will make it bigger for you as well.
Just, and you can just grab, well, you're not seeing my whole screen.
You can say hide thumbnail video up in the top right portion of your screen, and that should make it smaller.
wait, oh, I'll just get rid of everybody. Oops. Oh dear. Oh, now everybody's showing up and not the Mah Jongg hand on my screen.
Okay. I'm going to show you what Jamie's talking about, which is that you can see my screen.
I see
So
you
you see the block over.
for a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing everybody, but not your hand.
All right.
Speaker view. No, that's enter full screen.
She's not showing her hand right now.
No option to share my screen. It looks like I can only share a particular view.
No, wait a minute.
Bonnie,
Yes.
No.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Now we see your tiles.
this
Okay,
is
great.
Martha.
Wait a minute. I don't.
Bonnie,
Sent me a message to try to get.
Bonnie,
Yes.
can you hear me? This is Martha.
I hear you, Martha.
If somebody has the pictures on the left side of on the right side of their screen, if they go up to the top where the little bar is, they can just click on that very first little line and it will get rid of them so that you are seeing the full rack.
Excuse me, this is Ronnie. Can you hear me? Because I totally lost everything. I don't know where it went to.
Sure how to get back everything, but
I'm now just seeing my open tabs rather, and since she locked joining the meeting, I don't know.
Jamie, if you're still around, could you maybe privately chat with Ronnie and help her get back on?
Let's see about this.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, I'll work with Bonnie. With Ronnie.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move forward here.
Only on my.
We've got a set of tiles. We've got a single joker, a single flower, pair of 1s, 3, 4, 9 in dots, 5, 8 bams, and then a single 2, 4, 6 in cracks. I really want to get this. Ooh, that was really good.
Jamie?
Here
we go.
Enough.
All right. So, looking for those who have a card, let's look at the card. And what do we see here? Because Mah Jongg is a game of building around multiples, I'm going to look at my strengths, which is a pair of 1s and a pair of 8s. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any hand on the card that uses a pair of 1 and a pair of 8s.
Correct.
I don't think so. So one of those is going to end up getting thrown away. So what we want to do is see which pair has the most tiles to support it. And at this point, for those who've taken my class before, when you're getting ready to do the Charleston or when you're in the Charleston, you don't want to look at a hand. And especially now that we've just changed to a new card, you want to look to pick a category. So you figure out what category are we going to play in, and then we would keep the tiles to support that hand. So all I want to do for this first exercise here is to see what category would we play in here and what tiles would we pull out as our first pass. I'm doing this along with you guys. It hasn't been this is not in my brain all the way yet. So
You got consecutive, you got 2, 4, 6, you got a variety.
Yeah.
Are you asking for suggestions?
I am asking for suggestions. What do you guys see?
Okay, I see 1, 3, 5 because the 3 or the 5 could be used with the.
Okay, so we'd have 4 tiles for that.
Okay. Or 2, 4 with the 8s.
Another 4. There's 6 tiles in that category.
No, just the crack 4s because that would be.
Well, at this level,
2
you
cents.
only want to pick your category, and you're going to keep every tile in the Charleston that looks like that category until you have to narrow down to a particular hand.
All right, thank you.
Yep. 2, 4, 6, 8 I like. If we talk about consecutive run, we sure have a lot of tiles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that span. I don't know.
Is this a good time to ask you how long should a person, all right, maybe I should say how not long should a person take, like sorting their tiles for the first Charleston and then for the other Charleston?
What? Do you want me to give you like
an estimate? An estimate.
I would say maybe a minute for your first one, and then probably down to, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds moving after that.
Thank you.
It just round numbers. It depends.
I understand that, yeah.
But it should not be 2 minutes per pass.
Got it.
No. What I would say is, yeah, I'll go with that. Let's see, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4. I would probably stick with the 1s here, and I would probably go consecutive run, just because I seem to have 2, 4, 6, 7. I've got a lot of tiles in this area. I have no idea what hand this is going to be yet, but we've got flexibility. We also have the flexibility to bump over to a 1, 3, 5, depending on what comes in. One thing to note on the card, and this is consistent from last year, is that most of the hands, with the exception of the first and the concealed, when we're looking at the odds, they either go from 1 to 5 or 5 to 7. So when you see odd tiles in your hand, you're going to want to look for a cluster of small odds or little odds, or do you have big odds? So even if you have odds from 1 to 9, there's only 2 hands on the card that span 1 to 9. So while I would look here and I would say, if this is where I want to start my hand with these tiles, select, and these are the ones I'm going to give up. even though 9's odd, it's not really of great value here, because even if my consecutive run turns into little odds, there's not going to be a place for this 9. So personally, I probably would, these would probably be my first pass. Let's do that again. We'll just pull out different Charleston. I'm literally reaching into a bucket. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I'll put these in order. Sorry, it's continuing to try to refocus this whole time. All right. Oh dear, that's bad light. Yeah.
Here now.
I'm gonna shut the blinds, maybe that'll help. Just a second.
So.
While it
Flower.
Did that help? No, not at all. Right.
Oh, it's her.
Oh my gosh.
That was an owl.
I'm still watching. I'll get back to you in a little while.
I have no idea why this is. It was so beautiful before. Ah. Okay. Okay. Are you guys able to see okay? I know they look a little washed out. I'm trying to make sure they're the most visible possible.
That's a perfect place.
Yeah?
Hey, little man, come here. Come here.
Okay. So let's take a look at what we've got. We've got one flower. We've got a 3, 4, 9 in dots. We've got a 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 in bands, and a 2, 9 in cracks. No multiples. So when we have no multiples to start, which seems like it's most of the time for us in a real game, what you want to do is pick a category that uses the most tiles that you've got. So nothing's really jumping out to me just yet. So I'm usually going to go ahead and count. God, this glare is really bothering me. I know it's bothering you guys too. Oh. Sorry, I don't mean to be making people dizzy. Okay. I'm just gonna hold it here for a sec. So what do people see? What looks like a category would be in here? At a glance, well, we can tell we're not. We're not going for quints. We have no jokers, and we don't even have a pair yet, let alone getting up to a quint of anything. We're not going to be in a year hand because we have exactly 1, 2. Like numbers, 2 3s and 2 4s and 2 9s. Not really going there. Consecutive run, we do have this really nice run of bands here, but they're kind of out of whack. 3, 6, 9, not so much. I think odds seems to be where we have the most. So just to see where we're going with this. We are kind of equally split between big and little. Last year on the card, oh gosh. Last year on the card, there was that really great hand in the consecutive run category that was 1-2-1-2, which is exactly where my brain went as soon as I saw this 3-4-3-4. But that's not there this year. Remember to always check your card because your brain's going to go back to some stuff that you might have liked to play before and you were fond of. There is the only thing that resembles that at all in the consecutive run is the bottom concealed hand, which the pattern is 1-2-1-2-3. That's the only hand in this category with the same with like numbers in it. The only hand in the consecutive run category with like numbers. So that's not so great. What do you guys see? Okay.
The bottom hand was what I saw first, but you're right about staying away from it, I think.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
Unless you're really set up.
Yeah. So, you know,
How about in the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9? For example, the third one that says the 1, 3, 3, 5s. You have the 1, 3, and then the 3, 5, another suit.
Oh, we could do that. The 1, 3, 3, 5. I was thinking maybe the very beginning of the 30-point hand. 1, 3, 3, 3, 5.
Where's that?
Could also do 5, 7, 7, 9.
We could do 5, 7, 7, 9. So unfortunately, we are completely equally split between big and little odd numbers. So I would keep all of them at this point and probably pass some of these. And then see what we can make happen from there. Let's try it again.
Hi, excuse me. I know you're looking at the odds, but what's the possibility of like looking at that third from the bottom and consecutive? No, I'm sorry, yeah, where it's you have the 3, 4, and 5 in the BAMs, and if you got a 6 and more flowers, it might work that hand, or at least hold on to the 4.
That's certainly reasonable. I keep it as while we have options. Absolutely. Let's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So apparently my hands hold a Mah Jongg tile amount for a hand. All right.
What is the tile next to the east? Thank you.
The west.
Got it.
Okay. So we've got a single flower, 3, 5, 7 bam, 7, 9 crack, 2, 3, 4, 8 dot. Yeah.
You're really into odds today, aren't you?
Yeah. So I definitely see odds. Again, We're in big odds, I guess, by 2. Yeah, we're sure not in evens. No, I'm trying to think. Even with the new or news, the only hands that have the news are in the wind and dragon, and yeah, here. So
Concealed,
yeah.
big hand.
Not a strong start, but yeah, I'd probably go here and break these guys up for the passing, so it's a little less. I would do that, so I'm not left with an east and a west for the next pass. Let's do another one just to model the Charles for the what hand we're going to start with, and then let's go ahead and do a full Charleston with it to see how it evolves and the sense of these hands. That's a weird collection of stuff. Ah, okay. I think giving it something else in there with the different colors helping. Is that good? Is that better? Okay. I'm going to set up a Charleston here while you guys start thinking about what this is going to turn into. So we've got right, across, left. I'm just lining these guys up. Left, across, oops, one more. Right. Okay, what have you guys made sense of for this hand so far? We've got a single 2 bam, 2, 3, 5 crack, pair of 2 dots, pair of 5 dots, 7 dot, single red, single green, pair of norths. Okay. We know at least one of these pairs are getting thrown away because we don't have anything with a pair of 2s, a pair of 5s, and a pair of norths. So don't get too hung up on the fact that something's going to get broken up. So I
also have the 2s with the dragons.
We have 2s with dragons like numbers. I agree. 2, 5, 2, 5. We're sure not going to pass a pair of norths. Let me get that guy out. So we could do like numbers with 2s, like numbers with 5s.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Wouldn't you keep those 2 2s so that if you had to go like numbers all the way because you only got one of each of the other 4? I mean, if you decided to stay with the 2s, I wouldn't get rid of it.
You wouldn't get rid of the what?
Well, I would never get rid of the 2 dots just because they don't go with the dragons because of the flexibility in like numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're just picking a category here, and it sure looks like numbers is a good place for it to go. At this point, we don't know whether it be like numbers with 2s or like numbers with 5s.
What about the 2020 hand up top with the dragons?
Is it-
The 2020 hand up top with the drag. Oh, the first one? Well, I guess any of them.
The second one. with
The
the-
second one with the dragons,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah. 1, 2. You know, that one with the dragons only requires 1 pair of 2s.
Right.
So in essence, we
Yeah, the
really
soaps.
have that. Yeah. But we have 2s in 3 different suits. I'd like to kind of leverage the fact that we have those. The other thing that gives me pause here is with the 5s and these pair of norths, perhaps we could swing back over to like numbers, odd like numbers with norths and souths. Pair of 5s, pair of 5s, pair of 5s.
And if you discarded one of the norths on your first discard, the possibility of it coming back is higher probably than anything else because people tend to get rid of wins.
I would agree with that. I think we've got a lot farther to go to build out this with the souths, to get a pung of norths and a pung of souths. And we've got to work on 3 pair. That's a little more challenging. So I would agree. I think this is probably where I would go at the first pass. We're probably in like numbers here, but we'll see what happens. We sure don't know whether it's like numbers with 5s. There might even be, depending on what comes in, we might see something roll up with a consecutive run with the 2s and the 5s. I'd like to use both of those. I don't know if it's really possible, but okay. So this will be our first pass. And here's the first one we received. All right, look, we paired up our red. We have an 8 that does nothing, and we have a northeast. I probably wouldn't change course here. We've increased with the dragons, which makes our like number hand look better, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't love passing 2 wins, although for me on the list of risky things to pass, that's less risky in my opinion, especially since it's not north-south or east-west. I would probably continue to straddle the 2s and the 5s until we have something to push us over. Look, 2, and a 1. No, all right, at this point I would switch over to 2s. Because now we have 5 2s versus 3 5s. Okay.
Is that a 1 BAM or a flower?
It's a 1 BAM, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. It's a 1 BAM. So with all these 2s, 2s on the dragons, we can, yeah, I really think we're falling into the like numbers with dragons. Or, yeah. Is anybody seeing other things that might be worth hanging on to as a plan B as we make our decision of what 3 tiles to get rid of?
I would get rid of the 1 BAM, the 5 crack, and the 6 dot, because you can always keep the 2 5 dots. If for some reason the next passes you get 1 dots and 3 and 4 dots, you could do a consecutive run. But the other 3 doesn't seem like they would work.
Okay, I agree with that. However, there's one part I don't agree with. You're saying this would be your next pass and then to keep the 5 dots?
Yeah.
If I get tiles I like on the next pass, I sure don't want to have to pass 5 dots.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go ahead right now and break it up. I mean, neither one is good. You either have to pass a pair of 5 dots or a 5 dot, 6 dot. But I would definitely break up the 5 dots right now.
All right, see what happens.
So we'll see what happens. That's just, I like to say you're playing offense, but you want to make those defensive passes. Ooh, let it spread. All right, another dragon.
Awesome.
I'm not really sure where we're going with this now because that like numbers with dragons only has pairs, but okay. Let's see. Oof. I don't know. Now we have things we can pass. Oops. I just, the reason I'm hesitating here is because I'd love to find something that can take advantage of a pung, and that hand that we had been looking at before only requires a pair. That's my hesitation here.
What are you hesitating at? I'm not sure.
That the direction we were going was towards the like numbers with dragons.
Correct.
We have now a pung of dragons. Is there something else on the card that might utilize the pung?
Well, the 2020.
Yep, the hand that Ronnie was mentioning.
If
before.
you know, you wind up getting the zeros, the white dragons, it would work up second hand down.
Yep.
Since we have things to discard, why?
We have things to discard. So when whoever was asking me before, how long would you take to make a decision? I wouldn't be going through this decision point. I'm talking it out loud to you, but real time, we had 3 tiles to pass. I'm going with it. Like,
Correct.
I don't need to make that decision yet. Ooh, look what we got.
Ta-da!
So, woohoo, we have 3 tiles to pass. That's, you know, you don't have to think. Oops. This is our second across. That is nothing.
Bonnie, can I ask you something, please?
Sure.
On the any like numbers, it can be, it doesn't have to be ones, it could be 2s or 3s, right?
Correct.
Correct, any of them. Okay, thank
the
you.
whole category is any like number.
Okay, and could be odd or even.
Any
Any
yep,
of
any
okay.
like number. They're
Okay.
very clear when it's, again, as I call it, the flexibility and where you don't have flexibility. Make sure you very clearly understand what is stated in the parentheses. I recognize that the parentheses only says 3 suits or 2 suits, but that category is any like number.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
So no keepers. Nah. The only, let's see. Ooh, we got ones.
Oh yeah, pair.
Pair of 1s, pair of 2s. All right. Ooh, I just put both of those upside down. The next is the optional across. I don't know what we do for optional. I might just say 1 and not spend any brain cycles thinking about what else to shave off because something might stay. So what looks really nice to me at this moment is the concealed consecutive run, the second from the bottom, which is a pung, pair, pung. We don't have any 3 dots. Pung of dragons, pung of dragons.
But we don't have any other number.
I mean, the 3 is our only gap.
Correct.
And the only pair we have set, and everything else is a pung that we could use jokers for. That's probably where I'd lean. Well, we've done the 1 exchange. We'll pick our 1 back. That does nothing. Oh, it's the west, sorry. But I think I'd probably go into this play looking for the hand A being that concealed hand. 1, 2, 3, dragon, dragon with those exact numbers. If we get flowers, we could perhaps swing up to and another soap, we could swing up to that 2020 hand with the dragons, the second hand on the 2020 category. Flower, flower, red dragons, green dragons, 2020. Because that would we would still be using and hanging on to these 2s. And then I'm looking down at the like numbers with dragons. So, we actually don't have that many. It looks kind of pretty, but we only have 1 red 2 and 1 green dragon. So this is the point where we actually have to look at hands, because we're about to go into play and very, very quickly.
Mah Jongg tile red dragon. Mah Jongg tile red dragon. Hirsch.
Okay. You can see we do want to get this clear in our minds, because we only have 1 discard right now, and very quickly we're going to have to make a decision. So let's make the decisions now so we can work on the play later. So I still, yeah, I think this is our plan A. Gosh, I don't even know whether we should get rid of the 2 bam or the crack. It's the same whether we'd have 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. Yeah. So this is the order I'd start getting rid of stuff depending on what comes in. Then I would call this our primary hand. That's the one I'm thinking of going for until things go, profoundly south. But we're in good shape. We need a 1. We are completely void in our 3s, but we have our pair of 2s set. We've got our dragon set in 1 opposite suit, and we've got 1 of 3 in a second suit. I think that's a pretty successful Charleston, honestly. We did a lot to advance this hand. 2, 4, 6, 8 tiles towards a hand with only 1 gap. I think that's a pretty strong start out of the chute. Let's go through the full Charleston again and see what other things we can see about on this card as far as decisions. While I'm mixing these up, if it's not too noisy, I will share one thing that I learned. I was playing 1 online game this morning. I had time for exactly 1. And I noticed I was playing the 3rd hand down in consecutive run. The 1, 2, 3, 4, pung, pung, kong, kong. Now you guys will remember last year we had that 2 suit consecutive run with 4 numbers, but it went pung, kong, pung, kong. This year the pattern is pung, pung, kong, kong. And what I noticed was I had displayed the 2 kongs I had called. And, I had a 6 kong, 7 kong showing up. And as I looked throughout the card, I realized that was the only hand on the card with consecutive kongs. in the same suit, actually in any suit. So that's one thing I learned this morning. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. Left, left, curl, right. All right. So you are going to want to start seeing those patterns. There's our Charleston coming up. All right.
That's perfect.
Okay. So one more thing I want to add. Well, we talked about this during the PowerPoint, that the shapes of the hand change and that what the patterns look like. The patterns that we saw that repeated throughout the 2019 card, some of the ones that changed are now going to repeat throughout this 2020 card. So it just made me think of, because we were talking about that, the hand with 2 suits and 4 blocks. Last year, for example, this, the 4th one down, in 2, 4, 6, 8. Last year, that was pong, kong, pong, kong. And now you can see this year, it's pong, pong, kong, kong. Same thing in the consecutive run, the 3rd hand down, where we had 2 suits and 4 blocks. And last year we had 1, 2, 3, 4 with pong, kong, pong, kong. And this year it's pong, kong, kong, kong. We have the same for the 1, 3, 3, 5 and 5, 5, 7, 7, 9. Last year, pong, kong, pong, kong. This year, pong, 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 pong. And the very first 3, 6, 9. We had these same 4 hands in these same 4 categories last year with 2 suits and 4 blocks. But last year, the blocks, the pattern consistently across these categories went pong, kong, pong, kong. And this year, it consistently goes pong, kong, pong, kong. So you're going to start to see the patterns, while they're different than last year, they are going to be repeating throughout this card. So you'll be able to get familiar with the new pattern as it goes through. I hope that made sense. All right, so what do we got here? 1 joker, 1 flower, pair of 2s, a 7, a 2, a pair of 5s, 1, 3, 9, and reds. Wow. Yeah, so what do we do with this? Looking at the card. I just want to scream your hand, but no, it's not 2019 anymore. So that doesn't work. So we've got got 2 bams and 5 dots. There is 1 hand that has 2 bams and 5 dots in the consecutive run. Actually, there's a couple hands in consecutive run. 4, 2, yeah. So, but then what to do with this pair? And we have a pair of dragons.
Would you consider the multiplication hand at all? Since you also have a flower and a joker? Or is it 2 flowers? I can't see.
It's a flower and a joker. Which multiplication hands?
Well, the 5, 7, 35, you don't have all the pieces, but you do have the opposites, the 3 suits.
you're saying to look to the odd category.
Well, where is it?
I would say like you're
13579.
yeah.
Is it?
I
With
don't know that that's
Is that 3? No, the 3.
the 3 would be in it if you have that, but well, it's either this for that specific hand you're talking about,
Yeah.
or this if you're talking about big odds. I don't see that as the predominant pattern. I see a lot more if I would probably go to consecutive runs. I don't know what we're doing, but we sure have a lot. 1, 2, 3, 5. Like, again, I don't know where we're going with this, but that's a pretty strong amount of tiles. There's 7 tiles between 1 and 5. When I look in that hand, I'm sorry, when I look in that category of consecutive run, I want to see, well, what about my dragons? Because I have 3 pair, actually. And I noticed that in the consecutive run category, there's an exposed hand, which is in 1 suit. I don't love the fact that neither my 5s nor my 2s are cracks. Or the hand we were just looking at, going towards the concealed second from the bottom. So again, I wouldn't be spending all this time diagnosing. I would say, oh, I have a whole lot of low numbers and I've got 3 tiles to pass. I go ahead and break up my reds right away. I mean, even though we've got the pair of 2s and another 2, this sure isn't an evens hand because we have nothing in 4, 6, 8. It could end up swinging into a little odd hand, but we don't know. So I wouldn't overthink that. I would say let's look at getting little numbers. Oops. Oh, great, we got another red. Well, look, we got more little numbers. Okay. All right, now we have to make a decision. We're only 1 pass in. It's not a bad thing, but we sure are going to pass a pair of reds. And we do have to now whittle down and say, what do we want to do here with this? So then we have 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, and a 1, 3. What do we see on the card?
Oh, sorry.
What's that, Melissa?
I was gonna say, what about the second consecutive run? Because you have that nice pair of 2s already. And you have
okay.
the
Yeah, we definitely are. There's a gap to get up to the 5s. If we're thinking consecutive run, we're a lot stronger down in 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I would be fine with giving up the 5s, but that still doesn't, that unfortunately doesn't help us make a pass.
Okay.
Because right now the only thing we've identified we'd be willing to give up are identical tiles. So we can't make a pass out of this right now. So
what about using the opposing suit? Use the 1 crack, the 2 bams, which gives you your pair, and then the 3 dot with the flower and the joker.
Okay.
No, get rid of the 3 bam and the 2 dot. I mean, just move them.
Okay.
So you'd have the 1 crack, the pair of 2. So now you have your pairs covered, and you need 4 flowers and.
I would still, okay. I'd probably keep this 2 and 3.
Oh, I'm not saying not to do that. I'm
okay,
sorry.
I'm saying of the ones to give up, we're narrowing our consecutive run window to 2 and 3, but let's keep as many as we can. Obviously we couldn't, we had to give one away. And let's see what comes in. We also know that there's now 2 reds going around in the pass, but I just don't see where we're gonna play with the reds. The odd category uses light. Oh, yeah, that's rough. Okay, don't overthink it. All right, little numbers. Look, we paired up our 1. Ooh, we paired up the 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, red. I don't know. So we still have the 1, 2, 3. That came in a little stronger. We have the 2, 3 we could swap. About 4 consecutive numbers, 5 consecutive numbers. We really don't have that. Let's get rid of